We live in an age of the constant reflection. From the black mirrors in our pockets to the polished glass in our hallways, we are perpetually haunted by our own image. For many, the body has become a project that is never finished, a sculpture we are constantly chipping away at, trying to meet a standard of perfection that exists only in the flicker of a screen. We are told that to love ourselves, we must love how we look. But what if that is the very trap that keeps us enslaved? What if the path to true freedom isn't found in body positivity, but in body neutrality? What if you could look in the mirror and see not a masterpiece or a failure, but simply a vessel, a temporary biological home for the only thing that truly matters, your character? Welcome back to the Stoic Woman. Today we are dismantling the pedestal of aesthetics. We are stepping out of the hall of mirrors and into the sunlight of reason. We are exploring how the ancient wisdom of the Porch can liberate you from the tyranny of the visual, transforming your body from a source of anxiety into a tool for virtue. This is not about hating the shell. It is about finally inhabiting the soul. The architecture of the indifferent. To understand the Stoic perspective on the body, we must first master the vocabulary of the soul. The Stoics divided the world into three categories: the good, the bad, and the indifferent. Virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance is the only good. Vice, ignorance, injustice, cowardice, and excess is the only bad. Everything else, including health, wealth, and beauty, falls into the category of Adiaphora, or indifference. Within the indifference, there are preferred and dispreferred. To have a body that is healthy, strong, and symmetrical is preferred. It is a gift, a tool that makes the exercise of virtue easier. But, and this is the hinge upon which your freedom turns, it is not necessary for a flourishing life. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic teachers, lived much of his life in a body that was broken and enslaved. Yet he argued that while his leg could be fettered, his prohairesis, his faculty of choice, was free. He understood that the self is not the flesh. The self is the pilot of the ship, not the wood of the hull. When we tie our happiness to the external shell, we are building our house on shifting sand. Skin sags, hair thins, and the standards of society change with the seasons. But the internal citadel of the mind can grow more beautiful and more resilient with every passing year. The aesthetic versus the instrumental. Modern culture views the body as an aesthetic object, something to be looked at, judged, and valued based on its proximity to a fleeting ideal. Stoicism invites us to view the body as an instrumental subject, a biological machine designed for the performance of duty. Consider the hammer. We do not ask if the hammer is pretty. We ask if it is balanced, if it is strong, and if it can drive the nail. Your body is the hammer of your soul. Its value lies in what it enables you to do. When you shift your focus from how your arms look to what your arms can lift, or from how your legs appear to where they can carry you, you are practicing a radical form of Stoic sanity. You are moving from the passive role of the viewed to the active role of the actor. You are reclaiming your agency. The 5 core lessons of the unseen self. In this deep dive, we will move through 5 philosophical movements to recalibrate your relationship with your reflection. The objective lens, stripping away the emotional adjectives we use to wound ourselves. The body as alone, understanding the transience of the flesh to eliminate the fear of aging. Gatekeeping the impressions, how to handle the digital onslaught of modern beauty standards. The virtue of function, refocusing the mind on what is capable rather than what is visible. The mirror, fast, a practical discipline to break the cycle of self-monitoring. The practical exercise, the Aurelian inventory. Before we proceed to the first lesson, let us begin with a grounding exercise inspired by Marcus Aurelius. He often practiced physical analysis, stripping objects of their prestige to see them as they truly were. Today, I invite you to perform an Aurelian inventory of your own body. Sit comfortably and choose one part of yourself that has caused you distress, perhaps your stomach, your skin, or your graying hair. Step 1. Strip the label. Remove words like ugly, fat, old, or disgusting. These are not facts, they are judgments. Step 2. Use biological language. Describe the area as a scientist would. This is soft tissue that stores energy. This is skin with a lower concentration of pigment. This is hair that has ceased producing melanin. Step 3. Identify the utility. Ask, what does this part do for me? How does it serve the whole? By describing yourself in purely functional, objective terms, you remove the sting of the judgment. You realize that your body is not failing you. It is simply being a body. It is obeying the laws of nature. And in that obedience, there is a quiet, profound dignity. Prepare yourself. We are about to change the way you look in the mirror forever. Let us begin Chapter 1. The Objective Lens. Chapter 1. The Objective Lens. Stripping the gilded image. The first step in the Stoic reclamation of the body is the mastery of phantasia cataleptique, the comprehending impression. Most of our suffering regarding our appearance does not come from the mirror itself, but from the layer of gilded judgment we wrap around our reflection. We do not just see a face, we see a tired face, an aging face, an unattractive face. Marcus Aurelius practiced a technique called physiologia. He would take items of high status, like Falernian wine or purple robes, and strip them of their legend. He called the wine grape juice, and the robes sheep's hair soaked in shellfish blood. By doing this, he removed the emotional power these objects held over him. To heal your body image, you must become a Stoic scientist of your own anatomy. You must learn to see the flesh without the adjectives. The tyranny of the adjective. Adjectives are the primary weapons we use against ourselves. When you look in the mirror and say, "My skin is terrible," you have moved from a factual observation to a moral condemnation. Terrible is not a biological state. It is a value judgment. It implies a failure to meet a standard that exists outside of nature. The Stoic objective is to return to the noun. The judgment, these stretch marks, are ugly scars. The Stoic fact, these are lines where the dermis expanded to accommodate growth. The judgment, my hair is thinning and looks weak. The Stoic fact, the follicles are producing less hair according to a genetic and temporal cycle. By stripping away the ugly, the weak, and the terrible, you are not being negative. You are being accurate. You are refusing to let a social construct dictate your internal peace. You are looking at your body as a part of nature, and nature is never wrong. A tree is not bad because its bark is knotted. A mountain is not ugly because it is jagged. Why should you be any different? Practical exercise. The scientific audit. This week, I invite you to perform a scientific audit of your morning routine. As you get ready, notice every time your mind tries to attach an adjective to a body part. Catch the impression. My eyes look puffy today. Challenge the impression. Is puffy a disaster, or is it just a temporary state of fluid retention? Restate the fact. There is slight swelling in the soft tissue beneath the eyes. It does not hinder my sight. It does not diminish my justice. It does not affect my ability to be a good friend or a wise leader. When you do this, you create a gap of reason. You realize that the disaster of your appearance is actually just a collection of biological facts that have no power to hurt your soul unless you give them permission. Chapter 2. The body as alone, embracing the transience of form. One of the most painful struggles for women is the grief of the lost self, the feeling that as we age, we are losing our value because our shell is changing. We treat our youth as if it were a permanent possession and its departure as a theft. The Stoics, however, viewed the body as a precarium, a loan. Epictetus taught that nothing we have is truly ours. Our clothes, our house, our children, and even our very limbs are on loan from the universe. We do not own our smooth skin or our dark hair. We are merely permitted to use them for a season. When the season changes, the universe recalls the loan. To complain about aging is like a guest complaining that they have to leave a hotel at checkout time. It is a failure to understand the contract of existence, the beauty of the worn tool. Think of a master craftsman's favorite chisel. Its handle is smoothed by years of grip. Its blade has been sharpened so many times, it is half its original size. To a casual observer, it is worn out. To the craftsman, it is perfect. It has been tempered by work. It has a history. Your body is that tool. The lines around your eyes are the grip marks of 1,000 smiles and 1,000 tears. The softening of your frame is the physical evidence of the life you have sustained. The Stoic pivot. Instead of asking, "How do I stop the clock?" which is an exercise in futility, ask, "How do I use this vessel well while the loan is still active?" When you view your body as a temporary loan, the pressure to preserve it perfectly vanishes. You stop being a curator of a museum and start being a user of a tool. You realize that a life spent worrying about the finish on the tool is a life where the tool never actually builds anything. Practical exercise. The temporal projection. Sit quietly and visualize yourself 10, 20, or 30 years from now. See the gray hair, the deeper lines, the slower gait. Step 1. Meet the future self. Look at that version of you with deep compassion. Step 2. Find the virtue. Ask, what will that person have that I do not have now? The answer is usually wisdom, perspective, and a history of resilience. Step 3. Align the values. Realize that the future you will not care if you were thin today. They will care if you were kind. They will care if you were brave. They will care if you spent your energy on things that lasted. By premeditating your aging, you remove its terror. You accept the terms of the loan. You decide that you will not spend the prime of your life mourning the loss of your youth, but rather using your strength while it is yours to command. Chapter 3. Gatekeeping the impressions. Defending the inner citadel. We do not live in the world of the ancient Stoics. They walked through marble porticos. We walk through a digital minefield. Every hour, we are bombarded with thousands of impressions, fantasiae, images of filtered skin, surgically altered proportions, and curated perfection. In Stoicism, the inner citadel is the space of your own mind. You are the guard at the gate. If you allow every passing image to enter and tell you that you are less than, you have surrendered your fortress without a fight. You have allowed an external, commercial force to dictate your internal state, the value of the source. When a stranger on the street shouts an insult at you, do you take it to heart? Likely not, because you do not value their judgment. Yet when an algorithm or a corporate advertisement suggests your body is a problem to be solved, we often accept it as gospel truth. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself to look at the source of an opinion. Who are these people? What are their motives? In the modern context, the motive of the beauty industry is not your flourishing, eudaimonia. It is your insecurity. A secure person does not buy unnecessary fixes. The Stoic filter. Before an image can enter your mind and become a judgment, you must interrogate it. Is this true? Is this a real human body? Or is it a digital construction? Is this helpful? Does looking at this make me a more virtuous or wise person? Is this in my control? Can I change my basic genetic structure to match this image? If not, it is an indifferent and should be ignored. Practical exercise, the digital fast, and feed audit. Temperance, sophrosyne, is the virtue of restraint. To protect your body image, You must exercise temperance in what you consume visually. The unfollow ritual. Go through your social feeds. For every account that triggers a judgment of your own body, ask, is this person a philosopher? Are they teaching me how to live well? If the answer is no, unfollow. You are closing the gates of the citadel to hostile forces. The raw reality exposure. Intentionally seek out images of humanity in its natural state, unfiltered, aging, and diverse. This recalibrates your internal compass of what a body actually looks like, moving it away from the uncanny valley of the digital world and back toward nature. Chapter 4. The virtue of function. The body as an instrument of agency. If you spent your whole life polishing a car but never drove it, would that be a successful use of the machine? Of course not. Yet many of us spend our lives polishing our bodies while neglecting the very reason they exist: action. The Stoic concept of oikeiosis suggests that we have a natural affinity for our own constitution and a duty to preserve it. But this preservation is for the sake of purpose. Your body is the vessel through which your virtue is expressed in the physical world. From object to subject. An object is something to be looked at. A subject is someone who does. When you are worried about the jiggle in your arms, you are viewing yourself as an object. When you use those same arms to carry a sleeping child, to lift a heavy bag of groceries for an elder, or to embrace a friend in grief, you are a subject. The Stoic pivot. Measure your body by its utility, not its geometry. The geometry question. Are my legs the right shape? External. Out of control. Leads to anxiety. The utility question. Can my legs take me to the top of this hill? Can they help me stand my ground? Internal. Focused on function leads to gratitude. Practical exercise. The capability log. For the next week, replace your body checking, looking in the mirror to judge, with capability checking. At the end of each day, write down 3 things your body did that allowed you to practice virtue. My lungs allowed me to stay calm and breathe deeply during a stressful meeting. Temperance. My hands allowed me to cook a nourishing meal for my family. Justice care. My back remained strong while I worked on my project for 6 hours. Fortitude. By shifting your internal narrative from how do I look to what can I do, you align yourself with the Stoic ideal of the active life. You begin to see your flaws as irrelevant. A scar doesn't stop you from being brave. Weight doesn't stop you from being wise. When the instrument works, the appearance of the instrument is a secondary concern. Chapter 5. The Mirror Fast. The discipline of the unseen. The final stage of Stoic body liberation is the practice of ascesis, voluntary discipline. We have analyzed our thoughts and reframed our language, but the habits of the modern world are deep-seated. We are conditioned to body check, to catch our reflection in every store window, every car door, and every black screen. This constant self-monitoring is a form of mental fragmentation. It forces us to be both the perceiver and the perceived simultaneously, preventing us from ever truly being present. To break this cycle, we must practice the mirror fast. This is the Stoic virtue of temperance applied to the gaze, the psychology of the external eye. When we are constantly looking at ourselves, we are living in the third person. We are evaluating our lives as if they were a movie being watched by an audience. But Stoicism teaches that the only audience that matters is your own conscience, sunaidesis. The mirror fast is not about hiding because you are ashamed. It is about resting because you are occupied with better things. It is an intentional withdrawal from the visual economy. By removing the feedback loop of the reflection, you force your brain to find its internal compass again. You stop asking, how do I look to them? And start asking, how do I feel to me? Practical exercise. The 48-hour unseen protocol. This is a deep philosophical experiment. For 48 hours, commit to the following. Cover the mirrors. Use cloth or paper to cover the mirrors you use for checking. Leave only enough space for functional tasks, shaving, medical care, or basic hygiene. The window vow. When walking past glass or reflective surfaces, keep your gaze forward. Do not use the world as a mirror. The sensory pivot. Every time you feel the urge to check your appearance, perform a sensory check instead. What is the temperature of the air? How do your clothes feel against your skin? What is the taste of the water you are drinking? By the end of the 48 hours, you will notice a strange, quiet expansion of your mental space. The anxiety of the image begins to dissolve, replaced by the solidity of the being. You realize that you exist perfectly well without being seen. The final synthesis, the untouchable beauty. We have dismantled the aesthetic trap. We have moved from the objective lens of the scientist to the acceptance of the lone, from the defensive walls of the citadel to the active power of the instrument, and finally into the silence of the mirror fast. The ultimate goal of Stoicism is not to make you happy with your body in the way a consumer is happy with a product. The goal is to make you indifferent to its appearance and attentive to its use, the legacy of the Stoic woman. A woman who is no longer a slave to her reflection is a dangerous force in the world. She cannot be sold things she doesn't need. She cannot be manipulated by shame. She cannot be distracted from her purpose by a gray hair or a soft curve. True beauty, in the Stoic sense, is kalon, a word that translates to the beautiful, but also to the noble, or the virtuous. A face that is etched with the lines of justice, a body that is worn by the service of others, a mind that is clear and unclouded by vanity. This is a beauty that the world cannot give, and therefore the world cannot take away. You are the pilot, the body is the ship. The ship will eventually return to the sea, its wood rotting and its sails torn. But if you have navigated with virtue, if you have carried your cargo of wisdom safely to the shore, then the state of the hull at the end of the journey is of no consequence. You have lived, you have functioned, you have been a subject in a world of objects. Go forth today, not as a reflection in a glass, but as a light in the world. Your character is your true silhouette.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Watch the next one here.